Well, thank you very much for coming in, having a chat with me about your experience of StorySchool, Joe.
It's a pleasure.
So I would love to hear from you why you joined StorySchool in the first place. What were you looking for, wanting? Why did you join?
Lots of reasons, I think, Kate. I had watched people join StorySchool over many terms, and every term thought, oh, I'd really like to do that, and there was always some reason why I thought I couldn't or didn't. And then this one, the timing was right. I had some time coming free in my diary, so from a logical point of view it was the right time. But I've always loved writing stories, and I have always communicated to my patients and online using little bits of story, but I guess not really realizing or naming that. And I know when I read other people's even business related work, if there's some story in there, I'm much more likely to persist and read it to the end, something that draws you in. So yeah, StorySchool just seemed to fit the way it didn't feel like it was going to be work. I just thought, oh yes, great. I can tell myself this is business work, but actually it's going to be fun.
Yes, I love that. Amazing. And were you having any challenges talking about your work, explaining your natural strengths, explaining, why you really do it? Were you having any challenges in that arena?
Yeah, definitely. And the challenge, I think, for me is standing out as an individual. I'm sure it's the same in all industries, but I can only speak for my own, in that there is so much technical language to start with, but there's also there's a whole array of stock phrases that you'll see on every physiotherapist's website. Lots of, oh, sorry about the sirens, just to make it sound more medical in the background. Yeah, there's lots of generic stuff that it's really easy to fall into. And so I was struggling to really present myself as an individual amongst many others.
Yes. Yeah, that is so interesting. I remember actually you saying after one of the story workshops how amazing it was to hear so many people speak and not hear a single stock phrase or a single generic phrase, and how what a relief.
Yes. And also actually not even to hear the phrase that it's been adapted from, how sometimes you can hear something and you think, oh yeah, I know that's just a different way of saying that stock phrase. It wasn't even that.
So true. So tell me what you found the most valuable from StorySchool.
The thing I found most valuable was your patience, Kate, in waiting for the story to emerge. So, you very wisely encouraged us each week and gave us new ways to embellish our stories, to keep the focus and keep us moving forward. But I am definitely someone who loves to be given a task, solve it in the next 24 hours, move on to the next one. And you were very good at keeping the pace right for the story to grow. And I remember something you said at the end, that some people find their story literally the day before the last teaching, or the day before when we all read our stories out at the end. And I mean, that didn't happen to me. It came a little bit early, but it gave me such a sense of relief just to go, oh, great, I can keep playing as long as I like. And maybe I will be one of those people who it just comes at the last second, and that's okay. And that really freed me up to be a bit more adventurous with what I was doing.
Oh, that's so nice to hear that it freed you up to be more adventurous. And your story was amazing. It was stunning. What did you find the most transformational from the journey that we all went on?
For me, it was finding the thread between the three moments that I chose to use. In essence, maybe it doesn't matter what the thread turned out to be. My thread was acts of rebellion. And it just helped me. It helped me realize that that was such a useful phrase to articulate to others, but more to myself. So for me, Acts of Rebellion was an explanation of frequently finding myself in very conventional patterns, and being mostly okay with them, but then getting to a point where I had to tweak them to make them acceptable to me. And it was really helpful to take those moments from life, which at the start seemed completely disparate and unconnected to each other, and realize that that pattern followed all the way through, and it was fine. It's not good or bad, it's just what I do. And I'll probably continue to do it, and I can also spot it in clients and other people around me as well, and make it just a thing that happens.
Yes, it's so true that the threads then reveal, and as you say, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just a part of you, an essence of you, that then when you bring consciousness to, you can talk about, you can use, you can look for deliberately. I love that. And what did you find most surprising about your journey in StorySchool?
Actually, my mind has gone to other people in the group. Actually, frankly, one thing I found surprising was just how amazingly good people are at writing when they are given space and freedom to do it. I don't know what people expected of themselves, but there was such good writing in everything that people wrote, but it grew. Some people started out very tentatively, and by that last final show session, the quality of the writing, every single piece was just a joy to listen to. Maybe I shouldn't have found that surprising, but I did, because you weren't teaching us how to write, you were just giving us little prompts and letting our own style develop.
Yeah, allowing your inner writer to emerge. Yeah, amazing. Is there anything that you did or you experienced that you think that you wouldn't have done without my guidance?
I definitely wouldn't have written a piece in that style of that length. So I might have, if I was being really brave, have slotted a few little personal anecdotes into business copy or marketing copy before, but I definitely wouldn't have had the confidence to let it be a whole piece in itself. And I've shared it quite a lot already. I definitely wouldn't have done that. I think that was more through hearing the power of other people's stories in the group, realizing how really interesting that way of writing was, how natural it was, and how powerful it was. So yeah, I wouldn't have written the piece, wouldn't be so excited about writing similar pieces in the future, and wouldn't be sharing them with such confidence.
Amazing to hear. It's so heartwarming to hear when I know that what you created is wonderful, that you are sharing it, and that you're excited about sharing more like it. And what kind of responses are you finding that you're getting when you share in that way?
The most common response is a pause, and then, oh, that's really interesting. And actually a lot of questions about, oh gosh, how did you write that? What was the process? How did you go about that? And then questions about, I wonder if I could do something like that. So a real kind of, oh, that's not what I was expecting, which is great because I love getting that reaction. And yeah, maybe I could do that, which is joyous. If more people were exploring themselves, getting to that level of self-knowledge, and then having the courage and confidence to bring that into marketing copy. One thing you said, Kate, really struck home with me, and I've requoted this to other people, that when reading somebody else's copy or watching a video, you don't need to identify with their exact story, but there needs to be enough in there that you can relate something they've said back to your life. And that will only happen if that story has come from an absolute truth and place of authenticity. Otherwise, that that translation process is a step too far. So you need to totally believe what you're hearing, so that even if it isn't a direct reflection of your own life experience, it reminds you strongly enough of something that's happened to you. And that's how we connect and get drawn in, isn't it? That was you just said that in one of the sessions, and it really made sense.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And being specific enough. A lot of people think, oh, in order to have people resonate, I need to make sure it's generic.
Yes.
So that, oh no, I can't, that's too much about me, people won't get it. But actually the opposite is true. The more specific we are, and with an understanding that as humans, there really are only a certain array of emotions that we feel anyway. So when we're sharing our version of what opened us up to those emotions, other people will hear their own resonating stories inside.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think you said something to the effect of, we think we need to stay generic to capture all, whereas in actual fact, you will probably only slightly catch some with generic, whereas with specific, you are, for the reasons you and I have just said, you are actually likely to capture all, because you're not relying on, although you're being specific, you're not relying on the specificity being directly related to them.
Yeah, you're relying on them being a human.
Exactly, yes.
Amazing. So I think you've probably already covered this, but how do you feel now about talking about your work and why you do it?
Yeah, itching to get going with more.
Yeah,
really comfortable with it. My piece feels, when I deliver it, it's so my voice that it's just the easiest thing in the world to deliver, because I just have to talk it. And yeah, very excited about creating more of that type of work, and doing it in video form as well.
Yes, and one day a stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think was my response to that.
And what would you say to someone considering StorySchool? Maybe they're sitting on the fence, maybe there's they've seen, because there are other storytelling courses and classes out there. What would you say to someone who was considering joining StorySchool?
Well, I would say if the little voice in your head is saying, well, it would be fun, but it's not really that appropriate to business, or perhaps if you're seeing other storytelling courses advertised that don't claim to translate back into your work, then really trust that this one will. If that puts you off and you think, well, no, I just want to write stories, then it will also deliver that as well. So you can get both. Like I said at the start, you can have the fun of writing and using language and exploring different ways of expressing yourself, but it 100% will be applicable to your work in business. And I would say, regardless of what business you're in, you don't have to be a coach or a therapist to use this kind of language. I wish all business people were coached in this way of communicating, because it would be much more interesting, and it would be so much easier to find the right people in all businesses to work with, because you'd actually see them.
That is exactly it. And how amazing would that be when it is easier for one person to say, oh, that person's clearly not for me, but that's the one. And for another person to say, no, that's the one.
Cut out a lot of legwork.
It really, really would. I have one more question for you, Jo, because I know that you have stepped into the Wild Voices studio. So I'm really excited you're continuing the work with us. I'd love to hear, A, what you're most looking forward to about continuing the journey, and B, if it feels relevant to you, has this way of learning to communicate opened up any new possibilities for you going forward?
Well, on a personal level, I loved, so Morad's one of their tutors on the course, isn't she? And I always love hearing everything Rag writes. So, chances to hear more of her great work, and and know that she's part of the course. That was a big draw. As I've said, the opportunity to write more and be held accountable to write more. So it's always easy to say that you like it, but do you actually get around to doing it? And in terms of other opportunities, I know that within the course, potentially there's an opportunity to work with you guys more and learn how to spread the word and teach other people to use story in their work. And that's that is quite exciting to me. I quite like that idea.
Yes, that is coming, and that would be amazing to get to work with you, and as you say, continue to spread that word, spread this way of communicating, help everyone be just a little more interesting.
Yeah. A bit more human.
A bit more human. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for this lovely conversation, Jo.
You're very welcome, Kate. Thanks ever so much for the course and for this.
My utter pleasure. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.